Are you working hard and earning good money, but you feel like you're burning out and you don't get to spend any time with your family? Well, today's show is for you. Welcome to the Wealth Twins Show. Today, we're going to talk about how to avoid burnout and to earn back your time so you can spend more time with your family doing the things you want to do.
Yes, today we have a special episode for you because we have one of our good friends, Andy Hill. He is the host of the podcast Marriage, Kids, and Money, and he's here to discuss not only his new book, but the steps that he took to get back more of his time, right? And also build wealth at the same time. So, with that, let's kick it off, Nina. This should be a fun one.
This should be. Let's bring on Andy.
Hello, ladies. Thank you so
Hello,
much for having me.
Andy.
Hi, Andy.
I'm so glad to be here. It's so glad to have another conversation with you. Every time we get together, we have some good laughs, and hopefully we spread some good joy on the financial front. Absolutely.
Well,
Exactly.
that's a
So-
definite. That's a definite.
Yep. So, Andy, for the people who may not know of you or your podcast and your YouTube channel, can you give us a bit of background about you and let people know what you're all about?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, Andy Hill, I'm a family finance coach, but most of that coaching is done online through my podcast and my YouTube channel. It's called Marriage, Kids, and Money, mostly because those are the things that were on my mind all the time. You know, my wife, my relationship with my wife, my kids. How can I be a good parent? How can I help them learn the importance of taking care of their money so that they can own their time? And then again, obviously money's on my mind all the time as well, being a family finance coach. So I decided to start this show, about 10 years ago now, and I've loved every minute of it and have enjoyed connecting with families, real life people like yourselves, and sharing their story about how they have built wealth and found their way to their own version of family financial independence.
So, Andy, how did you find out about a financial independence movement? Now, we're all about that, and we all left the corporate world. I think that's what we all have in common. But did you find out about that before you had kids or after you had kids? And what change did you make to make that happen?
Yeah, specifically financial independence. This was one that I came across after we had kids, after we got married. In the beginning, I kind of dive into things a little bit. My wife likes to tease me when I read a book or watch a show or have some advice. I like to do all of it. I like to test it all out and kind of adopt that mindset. So in the beginning, I was really into Susie Orman's show. I watched that on, I think it was CNBC or one of those NBCs. I don't know. They've got a lot of them now. But she used to have people on the show and talk about how am I doing? Their segment was, she kind of analyzed their financial life, and they would talk about net worth and things like that. So I learned a lot from her during that time frame. Then I got into the Ramsey, completely debt-free movement. I really liked that, kind of went hardcore there. But then I found the financial independence movement, and I'm like, okay, I think this is the piece that I've been seeking. Like, how can I use all this, wealth building and debt freedom and net worth growth to actually do something for me where I can create more time freedom in my life so that I can go back to doing the things that I love. And that is spending time with my family, taking care of my health, reconnecting with old friends, spending time with my aging parents, and God willing, having some hobbies in life as well, just enjoying the everyday. And so when I found out that utilizing the money that was coming in from my active income, my job, I could create passive income through that and eventually use that passive income to relax a little bit more and go back to living life. That became pretty inspiring.
Now, Andy, you used that word passive income, and that's one that lots of people love to hear. But do you agree that you have to, like you said it before, you said you use your active income to make the passive income? And I think that's a piece a lot of people are missing. It's not all of a sudden one day you have passive income. It's more of a continuum. It's more of something that you have to work towards. But the active income, the active working, does give you the chance to make that passive income. So do you agree, like, passive income is not
It's not really
what
passive.
people think? It's passive after a point, but
Yeah.
you have to put
Exactly.
the
You
work
got to
in
put in
first.
time or you have to put in money. And if they don't tell you that, they're lying to you, okay?
That's
Time
right.
or
The
money.
Wealth
with
Twins
that,
said it
Andy?
right, everybody. Absolutely. Yes. You got to put in the work to begin with so that it has something to become passive. Like
Exactly.
that is either using your corporate job to invest in the stock market or into real estate or small business, your own small business, and then utilizing that capital, both your energy and the money, to have this thing grow over time. And yes, it can get easier over time. I would say of those three routes, probably the small business route is one that still requires requires a lot of extra effort to
Yeah.
make sure it keeps going. So I rarely call what I do on the business end of what I do passive because I still put in a lot of work to do that. But I honestly do feel when you invest in the stock market early, often for a long period of time, that can be passive income, especially if you take an approach of like low cost index funds that cover the broad market. I'm doing literally nothing in order to earn the money that I am right now in my retirement accounts, in my taxable brokerage accounts. Actually, I was just talking to my son about it on our podcast the other day. He's 11 years old because I'm trying to get these things to sink in for him. We call it butt sitting money. So you're just sitting there and you're doing nothing and you're making money. So we analyzed his Roth IRA to see how much butt sitting money he made this
Butt
year
sitting money.
from January to September, and he's made $1,000 doing nothing, sitting on his butt. And that I hope that sinks in for him at a young age, and I hope it sinks in for a lot of us that this is possible if we just invest in the biggest, best companies to work on our behalf. We too can sit on our butts and make money.
Yeah, I one of the things that people come to us saying is like, "Oh, I don't have enough money to invest. I'm so scared to invest. I need a lot of money to start investing." And we try to let them know it does not take a lot of money to start investing. What you need to do is start investing and be consistent with your investing. Even if it's $5, $10, whatever, there's many ETF, no, there's many um index funds that you can buy and just put in $1, and then that can start building your wealth in your investment market. Like, so Andy, what's like your son can't be making that much money, right? How much
Right.
money, or I won't even say how much money. It's not a lot that he's putting in right now in order to get that butt sitting money of $1,000, right?
On a monthly basis, my son is putting in about $40 and
See?
has done so for, I would say 3 to 5 years now. And the
Mm.
reason he's been able to do that, I'll caveat that, everybody. I have a small business where he works with me doing earned income, active income. He is a podcast co-host. He helps me with my social media. He helps me as acting talent on some of my videos. So in a fair, hourly rate, I pay him for his time, which is about 2 hours a month, so it's not a lot of money, but with that money, we can help him invest for the future. So to your point, when we're buying those ETFs, we can buy fractional shares of those ETFs for $1, and it's fantastic. So you can buy even if a share of one of those ETFs, I don't know what they are, right? Maybe $500. Let's say $500. You can buy $1 of that $500 share, and you start to build your wealth, and it starts to accumulate over time.
So, Andy, I have a question for you. Did you
Mhm.
learn about investing at a young age, or are you the one that's saying, you know what, I need to teach my kids this because I wish I had this before?
I think I had a variety of learning opportunities when I was younger. My mom helped me to invest in mutual funds when I was
Okay.
in middle school,
Mm.
which was awesome. I really appreciated that. Now, I think what we invested in at the time was very tech heavy. And this was right before the dot-com bubble burst, right?
Mm.
And so most of my money was in there. And after it went down substantially, by the time I was, I don't know, in my late teens or early 20s, I didn't know that this is really best for long-term investing. So I freaked out
Mm.
and I sold it at a lower, amount. I didn't lose all of the money, of course, but it was a lot lower than it was at a certain period of time. So that was my first mistake as a young investor, saying, okay, investing must just be for short periods of time. No, investing is best when you really have 10, 30, 50 years ahead of you for a big goal. And I didn't learn that very often. And then also in my late teens or early 20s, I got into single stocks a lot. And some people do fine with that if you can spend a lot of time looking into the details and making sure that you're investing accordingly. Not me in my late 20s or my late teens or 20s. I was buying stocks and then going to the bar and hanging out with my buddies and then come back a month later being like, well, that one's down. I'm going to sell that again. So you really, I didn't really have the savvy, but I did start investing but I mostly did not do very good in my first portion of investing. And I
Well,
really
the
didn't
good thing
really.
is that you didn't
Mhm.
give up, right? You
Yeah.
Yeah,
didn't give up. You didn't look
exactly.
at it like this doesn't work. Let me just stop altogether, right?
Yeah. But I did
And
have a
you had,
mindset, though, Nicole, of this
mhm.
feels like gambling.
Mm.
And I got
Ah,
scared of it for a while in my 20s and didn't really get back into investing for the long term until my late 20s, honestly. So
mm,
I missed some time because of those failures and not really realizing that I had made those failures, just thinking, oh, that's just what investing is. It's just
Yeah.
gambling.
mm.
Some win, some don't, some lose, and until I realized that you can buy all of the companies and stick with it for a long period of time, then it really started to sink in.
So how does that work for you? How has it gone for you since then? Since you learned that lesson, how's it gone?
Yeah, I
Like
would say
financially, let's see like where you started because I
let's
know
talk.
your
Let's get
story a bit.
transparent here. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I would say in my late 20s, I was around 28 years old. And when I got married with my wife, and at that period of time, we had a negative $50,000 net worth. This was the time that I was watching the Susie Orman show and really understood what net worth meant. We were making like $130,000 combined.
Mm.
And I thought, oh, surely we're rich, because we make so much money. We make six figures. And she kept talking about this net worth, net worth, net worth. So we decided to go up to the whiteboard and try to draw out our net worth on there. And we realized we had a negative $50,000 net worth. So we started
Mm.
that at a really low spot. And then that kind of motivated me, though. We were thinking about having kids, and the motivation of becoming a father and trying to protect my family made me want to educate myself more. Surely we could figure this out. We're making good money. And so we started investing consistently and use that investment to help build some time freedom for us today. So we started consistently investing at that period. 10 years later, I would say we got to about a $500,000 in
Wow.
investments.
Yeah.
So we did probably close to a 40-50% saving rate in order to help us to move forward in our wealth journey. By getting to that $500,000 by around 40 years old allowed us to achieve Coast Fire and helped us to see that with time and on compound interest and really little to no contributions going forward, this could be around $2 million by the time we retire at 60. And so that gave us some pause and saying, okay, well, if we didn't have to keep investing like this, what would we want to do with our money?
Mm.
Or what would we want to
Mm.
do with our time, really, that we're using to earn this active income in order to invest? And that really opened up some fun questions for us.
Now, you brought up Coast Fire. Now, Nicole and I got introduced to fire very late, right? And we live in a high cost of living state, right? So we were saving, I know for myself, I was saving about 75% of my income because I just wanted to leave the corporate world. Like I said, I have to
Yeah.
buy something, I have to get out of here. I wanted to start a family. And that was my main motivation. But we didn't get introduced to all the definitions of fire. So I wanted to know, like you brought up Coast Fire. What exactly is Coast Fire? That okay, I have this certain amount of money as a nest egg put to in the market right now, and if it grows accordingly, this is what I can start coming up with to start projecting what my investments would make. So give people more information on that, please.
Sounds good. Well, I'd like to start with fire first because that helps people to understand a little bit. So what happened, I believe what happened over the past few decades in our country is that we had what was called the defined benefit plan or the pension. And people would work for a company for a really long time. The company would take care of them, and then they would go off into the sunset and enjoy their retirement years. That's what my father had.
And I don't
He
think any
retired
of
at
us have
50.
benefited from that. None
None
of
of
us have.
us. None of us. Exactly. But that's what it was for a really long time. My father
Exactly.
enjoys that currently. Right now, he retired at 55 and has money until he is gone. And that's fantastic. That started to fade in popularity for the corporations because people were living so long and it's very expensive. So they decided to go with the
Yeah.
401k. And with the 401k, that required a lot more time on your side or knowledge on your side to know how to invest and do the contributions yourself. So I think there started to become some sort of distaste with the corporate environment because the balance seemed to be like, hey, work hard for us, increase your hours, climb the corporate ladder. But really, all that other stuff is on your own,
Exactly.
and good luck with that. So I think there became this distaste for the corporate world, and that's where the fire movement started to be born, I believe, where people are like,
Mm-hmm.
how can I take advantage of things like the 401k, the Roth IRA, other investment avenues for me to just front load this stuff and get me out of here as quick as possible because I
Exactly.
do not feel like we are being taken care of, or that doesn't feel like an equal exchange. Like the energy isn't matching, like I'm giving a lot
Mm-hmm.
more than I'm getting.
Mm.
So people started to do this fire movement. And with that, it became pretty popular for very high earners. I understand that you ladies are in that category, and that helped out a lot with your
I
situation.
always felt I never got paid enough. So
Yeah, I never got
There you
paid
go.
enough, but
Exactly.
it allowed us to save a lot more because we kept our expenses lower.
Exactly. Exactly.
yeah.
So the prudent out there, folks like you, said, "Hey, I'm making this great income, and I know that I don't want to keep living this life forever. So why don't I save a whole bunch of it and then allow myself that runway to get out of here early?" Now, for some folks out there, they said, "That's great, but I don't make 200. I don't make 300, or I'm working to want to spend more time with my kids earlier, but I think that I can do this with maybe just working part time." I think that's where Coast Fire was born. It's sort of this middle ground of saying, okay, maybe I can't save 50 to 75% of my income, but I could save like 30.
Mm.
I could do that for 15 years. And then after 15 years of doing this, I could step down to part time work and say, okay, I do like working. I like contributing. Maybe I don't like where I am. Maybe I don't like the hours that I'm working at this place, but I do like working and contributing and serving others. So could I do a half version of that? Maybe not work somewhere for 40 years, but work somewhere for 15 years and then maybe go down to part time. That's where Coast Fire kind of grew. And there's
Mm-hmm.
100,000 people in the Coast Fire Reddit community. So this is not a small
Wow.
little niche thing. A lot of people are into this sort of middle ground of maybe feeling like the intensity of the fire movement doesn't fit their lifestyle, but then also I guess
The
the
austerity
giving
of
up
it.
on life version of traditional retirement also doesn't fit. So
Exactly.
this
Yeah.
appeared to be like a middle ground that fit for folks. It really fit for us. My wife and I were making around like $180,000 on average, so a pretty healthy income. But
Mm-hmm.
with two kids and wanting to live in a nice neighborhood and not wanting to give up some nice luxuries like summer camps, we found it difficult to maintain that 50% rate for too long. So 30% has been pretty great for us, and it's allowed both my wife and I to go down to part time work as of about 3 years ago. And this has allowed us to build our own essentially 3-day work week and 4-day weekend.
That's awesome.
Well, if we take it and make it easier for people to understand, if you're saving 30% of your paycheck, that's really 30 cents of out of every dollar that you make, right? So ask yourself, can I do that? Is it possible? And I think when more people sit down and think about it, it's actually possible to take that 30 cents out of every dollar and be able to possibly achieve Coast Fire if you really focus on it. What do you think, Carl?
Especially if you're partnering with another partner on this
Exactly.
Exactly.
journey too. So, that is increasing your 401k contributions, that's taking advantage of employer matches,
Mm-hmm.
that is taking advantage of Roth IRAs, maybe even HSAs to hit that, and you get the tax advantages from those three accounts too to help to make the process a little easier. And you might not be doing it, full bore 30% on the first day, but if they're listening to shows like this, I'm sure they're already investing somewhat. So if we can
Hopefully.
increase that, I know exactly. Hopefully we can increase that up over time and, just have like a Kaizen approach to it. It's like, what can I do to improve 1% over time and get there? Then it's possible. I really do believe what you're saying there, Nadia.
Like Andy, you have it that one you can't kind of hinted at it. Marriage is the cheat code to building
Oh, yeah.
wealth faster if
It
you and your
is.
partner are on the same page. And was that always the case that you and your partner were on the same page, or was it like you had to do some convincing, or she had to convince you? Like, how was it to say, you know what, we're going to go on this journey together?
Yeah, no, it was not an easy road. I'll tell you that for sure. I think that Nicole and I have, and by the way, great name over there, Nicole. Nicole, my wife, Nicole, just so everybody knows. I did not, her and I did not see, I guess, eye to eye right away, but I think it was mostly due to the words that were coming out of my mouth,
Mm.
as opposed to us
Mm.
having the same values. So So I'll explain it. So when I got kind of jazzed up about this, like, okay, man, we have a negative $50,000 net worth. How do we get out of this? I started to dive into the books. I started to dive into things. And for me, I was drawn to the numbers. So I got really excited about net worth growth, erasing our debt, growing our investment accounts, all number focused goals. And so, what I would approach her with those number focused goals, that sounded like a crazy foreign language that also sounded like deprivation. And she would just essentially just ignore me and walk away. Like after a frustrated day at work while she's pregnant and she's going to deal with clients in the corporate marketing world, she's like, dude, you are filling up my brain with junk right now. I want to go relax.
Yeah.
But when I would pause and say, man, I am totally not speaking in her perspective. Like, I'm not empathizing with her. I'm not standing in her shoes. What does she really care about right now? She's pregnant. She wants to spend more time with her daughter when she comes into the world. And she is not really happy with the corporate life that she's chosen. Speak in those terms, And so when I learned that, that's when we were able to really connect. Hey, Nicole, if we're able to do some of these things like meet together on every couple weeks, have a budget party together. I like to jazz it up by calling it a party, and look at our numbers and have a glass of wine, talk through it a little bit. We could eventually get to a point where you are working part-time at your job and maybe eventually stay at home mom. You want to do that full time. And she was, oh, absolutely. Then she started to pay attention. Then she started to say, yeah, I'm in, let's do this. So it really was a failing on my part with the words that were coming out of my mouth and really thinking from her perspective, because we both had the same goal really, but it was just not spoken well from me.
The communication is key, and we got to learn how to communicate with our partners. Now, I wanted to ask you a question. I took this line from one of your posts, right? And it's, when life costs less, you don't need to work as much. Now, can you explain that, and how can it be
I live
true
by
that
that.
everyone
I
is
live by
saying,
that, but I understand.
but everyone's saying everything's becoming more expensive. We can't do it. We have kids. You have 2 kids. Both you and your wife are working part-time. How can you say when life costs less, you don't need to work as much? How are you doing that?
Oh, well, I mean, so many things. I would say the first part is just generally paying attention to where the money is going. I would venture to say, and maybe you ladies could agree with me, I'm going to go out there and say not the majority of people are looking at their money. Not the majority of people are looking at a budget. And now budgets can sound really boring, but I think really it can give you a view on your life and allow you to have some sort of control of where your life is going.
Yeah.
You can say, I am currently spending money on all of these things. Man, I don't like that. I'm currently spending so much money on this house. I feel owned by this house. Isn't it supposed to be the other way around?
Exactly.
So you start to look at those things and you start to say, well, do I care about having the biggest house on the block, or do I care about having more time in my life so I can take care of my health, so I can wake up in the morning and have a cup of coffee with my wife and connect, so that we are not at each other's throats all the time because we don't have that time to connect. What's more important there? So we like to ask ourselves those questions by looking at our numbers. Where's our money going? And so for some of that, we've had to make some lifestyle changes, Could we have a bigger house than we do? Absolutely. I'm sure there's a mortgage broker out there that would love to sell me a bigger mortgage than I had originally. Could I have a more expensive car? Could I have fancier clothes? Absolutely. Now, I think I have a fine house. I think I have a fine car, and I think I have fine clothes. But those types of questions, do I care about these things more than these other things, I think is a really important decision for us to do. And that way you can do what I've heard out there, it's a great term, value-based spending. What do you value? So spend money on those things that you value, and then just like drastically cut out the things that you don't value. So for example, I like cars, but I don't spend a ton of money on them. And your home, your cars, the food that you spend, those are the top 3 expenses in people's budgets. So there's a lot of talk about like cutting out the coffees and the avocado toast and stuff like that. It's like focus on these big three
I
things.
agree.
You could really make a big difference on your life. And so for us, one of those big decisions for us was, well, I like this house, but I don't like paying this mortgage on it. So after we hit Coast Fire, we said, okay, what can we do to keep building our wealth and pay off this mortgage so that we can really own our time? Because once that mortgage is taken out of our budget, we'll have, I don't know, what was it, $20,000 more in our budget available.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, we could say, where do we want to spend that additional $20,000? Or do we want to just work less so that we don't have to make $20,000 more? Those are fun questions to ask, and it's I hope we can keep talking about that, because I think when we just keep on going in the rat race of life, we continue to buy or continue to allow people to take our time instead of strategically stepping back and saying, how am I spending my money? How am I spending my time? And does it align with my values
I
or my
agree.
family's
Mm-hmm.
values?
I agree. So, Andy, now I know you have a book coming out called Own Your Time, and it's 10 steps so people can try to do the same thing that we're all talking about here. Let's talk about the book. What made you write this book? What was the
Oh,
incentive
well,
to
actually,
like?
what is the title? What is the
I said
subtitle?
the title is Own Your Time, but you can
There
give
you
us a
go.
little
There you
more
go.
clarity and some more on that. What is it, Andy?
Yeah, so yeah, it is called Own Your Time, and it's the 10 financial steps families can take to escape the corporate grind. So it's very specific to the conversation we're having here today, but I wanted it to be specific because I think a lot of parents are in that situation.
Exactly.
Parental stress is at an all-time high. The Surgeon General
Mm-hmm.
came out with a report a couple years ago that really warned parents, really warned Americans that this is a dire situation that we're in. These are the people who are raising the future generation of America, and we need to pay attention to it. So a lot of what was in there was a lack of time and major financial stress. So that, I feel like I'm on a mission really with this book to support in both of those areas, because when we can take care of our money and direct it in the right direction, we can own more of our time and release some of that stress, because there is so much of it out there right now. And I think parents are wearing a lot of that stress, and that affects them. That affects their relationship with their spouse. That affects their children. The words that come out of your mouth as a parent when you are anxiety driven and so
Mm-hmm.
feeling like you're lost start to seep down into your children's words, and that becomes generational trauma that continues to go on. So
I agree.
let's break the madness and let's do these things that we need to do in order to improve our financial situation so that we can get back to the life that we've always wanted to live. And that's really the reason I wrote the book.
I think when you hit that certain mindset, you will understand that no one can pay you any amount of money that's worth more than your time. Well, it's probably some number for me,
Absolutely.
but I'm just saying, like,
Yeah,
my
there you
time
go.
is very
Must be true.
valuable. Okay, right? So and I have to make a conscious decision. Like, is it worth it? Because I know what I'm taking from. Because I really value my time, and when you get to this place, you have a sense of peace, but you also have a sense of control over your life. And that's when you really feel like you're living. So if you can have out of the 10 steps, what is one of the first steps someone should take if they're trying to start this process? Okay. If they're saying, you know what, for my family and for myself, I need to start this process so that we can be in a better place maybe a year or two from now. What would you say, Andy?
Well, I would say, like the mistake that I made, it's not diving into the numbers. It's really stepping back and taking a moment to dream. Do you remember when we were kids, Nadia and Nicole, and we dreamed all the time? We thought about what we were going to be. We
Mm-hmm.
thought about what future we were going to have. But when you become married with kids and working in the
And
corporate
you work in
world,
the
we forget
corporate
to
world and
dream.
they're sucking your soul from you.
No. When life starts lifing, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, life starts lifing. We forget to dream.
Yeah.
We forget to step back and
It's a
say,
day-to-day
what do
thing
I
that you're just doing.
what do I want of my in my life? What is this life for? Taking back some time, even just 10 minutes, to sit aside and say, write in your notebook, write in your favorite app, what do I want from my life? Where do I want to be 5 years from now that I'm not there today? And sometimes people have a difficult time with goal setting or dreaming like that. I like to throw it back and say, okay, what if you walked to your mailbox today and there was a check for $5 million, no strings attached, written to you, no taxes, none of that stuff. You get it and you get put it in your account. What is the first thing that you stop doing immediately? Is that saying goodbye to your toxic job? Is that saying, well, it's toxic because I got to work there 60 hours? I would immediately say, hey, I want to work part-time here. Or I like my industry, but I'd rather work somewhere completely different. Or I would start my own business. That's fun, right? That's dreaming. So that's like the art of subtraction there. So maybe it's not goal setting. It's like, what would I subtract immediately if I had my financial situation taken care of? And we use the number 5 million just because it's a bit hyperbolic. You don't need 5 million to do this stuff. But that can also help. And also sometimes it's just leaning into fear. Like, what am I constantly worried about? What do I have anxiety about? And then leading into those areas, and those can almost be fear-based. So for me, for a long time, it was like, I'm afraid of losing my job or not performing well, and then losing my house. And that just filled me up with so much anxiety and fear that I became so motivated to eliminate my mortgage in less than 5 years. So I didn't have to worry that my kids would not have a place to live and not have a place to call home. That became motivating for me. So whether it's dreams or the art of subtraction or some fear-based goal, find that motivation and then have that be your why to move forward. Because if you don't have a why, you don't have a goal, all this stuff after that is a lot of hard work. So you got to be motivated to do it.
I agree.
What Andy is telling you to do is an exercise everyone should do before it becomes too late, before you leave the job, before you lose the job. And I think that's something that we really have to get into people's heads. You don't have to wait until things become bad to start thinking about this.
Yeah.
Do it when you have the time. But also, how do you get rid of that mindset of me thinking about myself being in a good place is kind of selfish?
Yeah, well, let's start with that first one. I would say it's very difficult to pour from an empty cup. So if you want to give to your wife, your husband, your kids, you need to first support yourself. You need to help yourself feel like you are standing on confident, strong ground so that you can give to those people that you love. So if you're saying, oh, well, I shouldn't invest for my future, or I shouldn't save for, things that I care about or personal emergencies, I should just help my kids have a better future than me because, they're going to do better than I did anyway. You don't want to be knocking on your kids' doors in your 60s and saying, can I have a place to live? Because you didn't take care of your financial situation. You really need to take care of yourself first.
Or you're in your 40s and you're knocking on your parents' door and they're in their 70s saying, I need to stay with you because I made a bad I didn't do what I needed to do. Yeah.
So we do need to be a little bit selfish. I think that there is some societal thing that's out there that says that we can't do anything for ourselves. Oh, please, we need to take care of ourselves. And by taking care of ourselves, then we can give back and serve others. So until we do that, until we are able to stand on solid ground, until we're able to keep our backs up straight in a corporate environment where somebody's abusing you and you have money to say, this does not work for me, sir. This does not work for me, ma'am. Yep. I am not going to stand for this. And you're able to do that because you've got 12 months of money in the bank and you can say goodbye if you need to. That's the type of confidence and support that you need to be able to have and demonstrate to your spouse and demonstrate to your kids so they see that and they are inspired as well.
I think Nicole can tell you exactly how that works, right, Nicole?
Tell me, please.
Oh, boy. Yeah. I went to work one day. I was thinking it was a beautiful day. My boss calls me in the office and he says, I'm thinking I'm going to get a promotion, but he said, we're going to promote someone else. And I said, well, I don't think I can accept that. And he goes, no, you can and you will. Now go outside, compose yourself, and come back and support the decision. Well, I went outside and I called HR and said I quit. And then I left that day. So, but I was only able to do that because I was saving money on the side, because I had a beater when it came to the car. I was living way below my means, but I didn't know what I was saving that money for. But obviously I was saving it for myself for moments like that. So guys, I'm telling you, I had to put that in practice, but it felt really good to tell that boss, not today, I'm not the one. And you know
That's
what? I was
beautiful.
able to take care of myself, and I was able to get another job where I was more respected. But yeah, that saving and actually saving, maybe if you don't even know the reason why you're saving, just saving because some days it might rain. That is something also worthy to save for.
But if you
I
were to
love
do
that
it,
story.
well, you left a second time and you retired completely, Nicole. What made the difference there? Because I think people need to understand that savings will be temporary, but then
Savings is temporary.
what is something that can make it longer standing and help you say, you know what, I'm retiring at this age. This is why.
I mean, you have to have other streams of income coming in as well. So, not having your job being the only source of income is something that everyone should take advantage of. There's so many opportunities, so many skills that you can learn that even if it's just a small amount of money coming in, as long as you understand that your job should not be the only source of income that you can have, and also keeping your expenses low is something that I definitely learned and something that's always helped me. So, that me and my husband are never really going to be at the mercy of just employment.
I love that. Yeah, that's giving all of your power to somebody. And if they're in that situation, like this boss who really didn't seem to care about your feelings or your future, that's a lot of power to give to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So, Annie, we're going to wrap up the conversation right now. We got something called rapid fire questions. Okay. So,
All right.
I'm going
I'm
to give
in.
you something. Let's see. All right. So, my first question is, what's a good piece of money advice that you can give to parents in 10 words or less? And I'm sorry I'm putting you on the spot, but let's see. 10 words or less.
10 words or less.
A good piece of money advice to give to parents in 10 words or less. I would say take 15 minutes to dream with your partner today.
Okay.
That's a good one.
What is a money mistake that you made that you're glad that you actually made and it taught you valuable lessons?
A money mistake that I made that taught me valuable lessons. I would say my first bout of home ownership. I thought I was doing the right thing buying a home at age 22 with 10% down, and just getting the home was success. But I quickly realized that a mortgage is just one piece of the puzzle of the cost of home ownership.
Oh,
You gotta
yes.
fix it. You gotta maintain it. You gotta furnish it. You gotta pay the bills. You gotta fix the roof that you didn't know you need to fix. And being owned by a home is never fun. So when I got my second opportunity to buy my second home, I said, not again, never again. And we bought a home that was reasonable for what we made with regard to our income and factored in those costs and then paid that mortgage off in less than 5 years.
Okay. And I have one more
Wow.
question. I don't know if Nicole
Did you
has
see how
one.
he just dropped
he just threw that in.
I paid off a house in 5 years, guys.
I dropped the mic, but it's attached to this thing here, so you know.
Boom. Forget your 30-year mortgage. I'm paying this off in 5. Let's go.
There you go.
So there is no rules, right? You can pay it off.
There's
when you
no
can,
rules. Get
guys.
that
You don't have to
30-year
wait
mortgage
30
and pay it
years.
off early. Okay.
You can do what you want. Yeah.
And I have one more question. I don't know if Nicole has one, but where can people find your book?
Yes, you can find Own Your Time on any major online retailer right now. So that's Amazon, if you're into Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, and it's called Own Your Time by Andy Hill. I'm in a pre-order mode right now. It comes out in January. Our goal is 500 pre-orders by January. So any support out there would be fantastic. Thank you.
I got my copy.
I got my
Let's go.
copy too.
Let's go.
Okay. So guys, pre-order Andy's book. I'm sure he's gonna be dropping gems in there left and right. You're gonna learn. I'm already looking forward to reading this book because I know Andy. I know how sincere he is about teaching people what they need to build wealth and also gain back their time. So I'm very interested in reading this book. And also, Andy, where can he find out more about you outside of the book?
Yeah, Marriage, Kids, and Money is a great place to go. You can go to my website, marriagekidsandmoney.com. If you're listening to a podcast, you just type in Marriage, Kids, and Money. It's a great place to connect.
Well, thank you very much for joining us today, Andy. We loved having you. And congratulations, and I hope you have much success on your book.
Thank you,
Yes,
Nadia
and guys,
Nicole.
if you
appreciate
like
it.
episodes like this, please let us know. Drop a comment. What was the thing? If you like Andy, you want us to bring him back, write Andy down in the comments. And with anything, please share this with someone you care about. Like the channel, and we'll see you in the next one.
See you in the next one.